War Sadhan, of course, will always be a special film. Yes, I got the first Filmfare Award for Mashal. Yes, of course. My intent was a marathon. I was always wanted to be a marathon runner. Films like 1942 and Lamhe I should not do because, people expect something else. I became a big star. I wanted to break that image. I said, why is Raj uncle making this film with Kamala Hassan? यार मैं उनके पास बैठा हूँ, उनका नेबर हूँ, उसके नज़रों के सामने और मुझे कास्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं.
Before we just started the interview and I was talking to Tahir, in fact, he's a cameraman, and he was discussing your films, and he immediately came to one of your films, Sahib.
Is it?
One of your underrated films, but I think one of the fantastic. In the sense, I think it was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, successful film. It was so successful that it was made in Malayalam. It was made in Telugu, and Chiranjeevi played my role.
Right.
And it was hugely successful. People loved that film.
Now I'm saying underrated because in your filmography, because you've done so many films.
Yeah.
In that context, maybe Sahib as such है उतना लोग बात नहीं करते.
That's a film which can be made again, I feel.
I think it can be. So how do you look back at that phase of your career? वो साथ.
Actually, I've been very fortunate that I have.
Mashal.
I've worked with some good people, good director, good leading actresses,
right.
And it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I've been very, very fortunate and blessed that I had this good fortune to work with the best directors of the world.
Right. But say if you have to talk about like say Wo Saath Din, how do you look back at Wo Saath Din now?
Wo Saath Din, of course, will always be a special film. Because that was the first really film which was successful,
sure.
And that's what made me, in a way, tradable. Made me into a star,
right.
As they call it. I always wanted to be an actor, and I will always remain an actor. But there are certain characters you do, and the characters become so popular, like Prem Pratap Patiale wale became so popular, and I became a star. They started, I don't know what the definition is. That then they called me, started saying that you're the after a long time we have a star actor.
Mashal, I think you got your first Filmfare Award for that.
Yes, I got the first Filmfare Award for Mashal. Yes, of course. And then, and for quite some time, Filmfare, when my best films released, Filmfare had stopped. For a few years, there were no Filmfare Awards during the time of Karma, Mr. India,
right.
And all this film. There was no, I'm sure I've got 5 of them, but if they were there at that time, I'm sure I would have had 5 more.
You worked Mr. Chopra once again in Lamhe. In fact, I think one of your finest works. In fact, you had 2 roles simultaneously.
Lamhe was a film which obviously I was slightly ahead of times, as people say it.
Sure.
Everybody felt that films like 1942 and Lamhe I should not do because people expect something else because you had become a big action comic time star and the biggest so people expected that kind of films from me, like films like Tezab, Ram Lakhan and Rakhwala and Kishan Kanhaiya and all. Right. But I've always, I think, gone against the tide, and whenever I became a big star, I wanted to break that image. And so that my intent was a marathon. I was always wanted to be a marathon runner. I always wanted to for longevity. So today I am in this business since last 32 years. And I think the reason I feel that I took the right decisions by balancing films, doing films which would elevate me as a star and then doing more films which would elevate me as an actor. So that's the balancing act I always did and I always will do. Even in Hollywood, I've started with bit roles and sure. I would do big, if I get an opportunity when I started, I said now I've done an independent film, I've done a TV show, let me do a big studio film. And now again I want to do a small independent film, rather than doing a bigger film. I want to do a small independent thing with an unknown director, with an unknown, kind of a script which will push me and present me in completely different avatar. And I want to surprise the people in the Hollywood also by doing something which is completely different from what I've done in the last 3 outings in Hollywood.
Fantastic.
And India, I've always done that.
In fact, जब भी Anil Kapoor की अगर बात होती है, I think one of your finest performance has been Ishwar, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's very close to you.
Yes. Well, of course, there is a story behind that also because Raj Saab wanted to make this film, Raj Kapoor Saab, and he wanted to make it with Kamala Hassan, and I was very disappointed and upset. I said, why is Raj uncle making this film with Kamala Hassan? यार मैं उनके पास बैठा हूँ, उनका नेबर हूँ, उसके नज़रों के सामने और मुझे कास्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं. बट ही टोल्ड मी, ऐसे मैं कमल हसन को मैंने प्रॉमिस कर दिया अनिल अगर कमल हसन नहीं करेगा तो मैं तुझे लूँगा.
Sure.
Ultimately, you know, may his soul rest in peace, but he was the one who really supported Ishwar and Swati Mutyam. He was there for the Silver Jubilee function for Swati Mutyam. And ultimately, he didn't make the film, and the rights came back to K. Vishwanath and the producer. And then I told, Vishwanath ji, I say, if I don't make the film with Kamal Hassan, you must make the film with me. So once I came to know that happened, I landed up in the hotel, in the lobby. I met him. I said, now you make this film with me. So I think sometimes you have to go for something which you really passionately want to do it. So I went for that role, went for the film. And it's more than 25 years since the film has released and people, you're still talking about that film.